Hi, so I want to share some of the ways that Ayurveda has helped me cultivate a more balanced and healthy relationship with food. And it's still a work in progress, but the gems of wisdom of Ayurveda, which is that it's also what we eat is really important, but not only what we eat, it's how we eat. It is how we feel when we're eating, what we're surrounded by, what kinds of conversations we're having, our environment, and all of that makes a difference in how good our digestion is going to be, and how much benefit we're actually going to get from the food. And modern modern science is now backing all of this up. Ayurveda is a science, but now we have modern Western science saying more or less the same thing. So when we eat in a state of stress or anxiety or a rush, or we have resistance to our food or a lot of emotional baggage around eating, which is true for so many of us, it's really, really common. And what happens though is that our digestion is not as strong and we don't get nearly as much out of our food as we would if we had cultivated a little more presence, gratitude, peace of mind, let our parasympathetic nervous systems be fully present and just relax and drop into the experience of eating and even of cooking if you cook. Um, so Ayurveda also teaches that the food has energy. It has a memory. That might sound a little strange at first, but if you work with a garden, if you have a garden, you probably know what Ayurveda, that wisdom is talking about. And it begins from the time that we plant that seed in the soil, or even before, because a seed remembers that what kind of a seed it is and what it is meant to become. And if we nourish that seed, it will become what it's meant to become. And so when we nourish ourselves with food, we take in this energy. So we affect the energy of the food depending on how our energy is. There's a relationship there. The whole process is emotional, and that's just part of eating, right? It's an emotional experience. It's connected to old memories of, our grandma's house, or things that the scents that smelt good, and the experiences that we had in really early life from, if we were breastfed, from breastfeeding, if we weren't, from receiving nourishment from our caregivers. So it has some really deep layers to it. And so just taking the time, remembering to honor that, to do what I call food yoga, for lack of a better name, and just for fun, which is kind of like when we step on our mat to practice. We can come in with an intention for our practice, and then we begin by breathing, by really becoming present with our breath. And that's the same thing with our food. If we can do that, we can step into the kitchen or to our table or to our meal with an intention of gratitude, of health, of whatever your intention is around your experience of eating and nourishing yourself and your family, if you nourish your children with your food, to share maybe that intention with them. And having a moment to come into that sacred pause of just creating spaciousness in your experience, in your mind, in your thoughts, so that you can take in the food. Like, it sounds so simple, but our sense of taste is really profound, and so is our sense of smell and our sense of touch, and they can all be involved, even our sense of sound, in this process of eating. So if we look at our food as we're cooking it or preparing it, or as we're eating it, and just take in the colors, take in the textures, the shapes, and just be with that for a moment and wonder about it. Maybe what kinds of nourishment is going to come into your body, even if you already have a sense of what that is. Maybe just go a little deeper, and take a little time to smell your food, and to activate your digestion as soon as you smell your food. That's what happens even when you're cooking it. Your digestion already is growing stronger if we're present and alive for this process. And then, of course, tasting and chewing and swallowing and feeling it in our stomach, really feeling the wisdom and intelligence of the food and of our bodies, letting us know when it's time to pause and to possibly stop when we're full. And Ayurveda has a lot of wisdom about that as well, which is really it's really important not to eat beyond our capacity. In fact, just to eat a little bit less and leave ourselves just this tiny bit of space in our bellies so that this belly has its necessary space to digest fully. And it's a time after you eat, which is also really challenging for us, especially us mamas who are like, I gotta get up and clean and do the next thing, and or us working women and our lives. They're busy. But it's really important to pause, to rest and digest, even if it's just 3 breaths, like being really present with those breaths. It's just like if you went to a yoga class and you did all your yoga and you got all strong and sweaty, and then you jump off your mat before you even go to Shavasana. And some people do that, but really you reap so much of the benefits of your practice by being in stillness and letting your nervous system rest and soak up the goodness and the nutrients and the nourishment. It's the same with eating, so that's why I'm calling it food yoga. So, and it's also, if you have children, a really wonderful thing to pass down to them. They're just as busy as we are, but they're also mirroring us. So if we're on our phones and we're on TVs and we're having conversations and we're stressed, we're talking about money around food, they're picking all of that up too, as you know. So it's a practice to let all the technology, get a little space from it, drop into the food, step into it with some intention, invite in some gratitude, notice it, take in the sights, the colors, the textures, the smells, the taste, feel it in your body, and then trust that it is going to give your body the exact medicine that it needs. Because if you're eating seasonally and from Mother Nature, it absolutely will.